I was watching Jay's video this morning over at Real Deal relating to his experience in a call centre and the issues with security. I just want to go over why security is pretty tight on this, but also if you're opening a call centre, this is also relevant. The first one is data protection. Now, you may assume your data protection. It's not. It's to do with the Data Protection Act for places like the UK that actually have legal obligations if you're holding information on people. As such, you have certain requirements to meet that criteria. Data protection. Non-disclosure agreements. A lot of companies don't like making people aware that they outsource things. You find some of these companies will pretend they're 100% UK based, US based, Australia, whatever, but the reality is probably 70% of their stuff is outsourced. They just lie. They know it impacts their business if people were aware how much of that stuff they actually outsource. So you're not allowed to talk about it. You've signed a contract saying you can't discuss it, but also if you're letting people into your centre, you've got to make sure that they aren't aware which contracts you're running. The monopoly. Monopoly is real. I've seen this in a call centre in the UK. There was about 10 insurance companies, all owned by the same company, all under different names. They're not allowed to do it. It's actually illegal, and we're actually asked not to disclose who they are because they're aware it's illegal. But the reality is they do it because what they do is they buy subsidiary companies, and then the subsidiary company becomes the new insurance company, and it's not directly linked to their business, but they own 100% shares of the subsidiary, and then the subsidiary owns the insurance company. They're bankers and what have you. They know how to manipulate the system. But they then put them all in the same call centre, which pretty much shows that that's how embedded it is with the original company, because the original company owns that call centre and puts them all in there. Data theft. Data theft is a major issue in the call centre industry. I get offered call centre information from other people. For example, HSBC have been predominantly known for their data being leaked in India, where people have been buying a ridiculous amount of information off people that have worked in Indian call centres. So data theft is a real issue. But I will expand on that because there's multiple things people steal. First one is your sales. They're looking for your new and your old sales. Your old sales, if you're doing something like insurance, you call back every year. So hammering that with a list of people that are due for insurance in January, for example, you already know to hit them up just before January to try and get in there before the company has a chance to target them themselves. So that's a prime example of what they called it's historic data. It's what do they call it? There's a term for it. Aged leads. That's what they are. But obviously they also want last week's, last month's, etc. because you may not have sold them on yet. You may have booked appointments, but if, for example, you're doing solar panels and a couple have gone on holiday for a fortnight, but they said, yeah, when we get back, obviously if somebody can hit them up during that time, they can get 2 quotes. So there's a prime example of why your sales data is important. Dial lists, obviously similar, but also dial lists can be expensive if you don't know how to get hold of them. I'm not saying how much I pay or where I get them from, but the reality is I can get pretty much most data for the whole of the US, also for the UK and other locations. Dial lists are expensive. A lot of Philippine call centres buy very bad lists, which is why their performance can struggle. So they can empty your call centre of all your data and dialing lists. They're on a winner. They can't really lose on that. Technology. I've talked before about avatars. You've also got the press 1 for speaking to a sales rep, press 2 if you want to be taken on off our list, etc. Those auto dial lists, telephone conversations are another system. You also have those with the pre-recorded voices that when they hear that the answer machine's picked up or whatever and there's nobody there, or if there is somebody there, it starts playing the recording. Those systems are technology based. You get hold of the servers or how the system's put together, you can replicate it in no time. So we're down to data theft, we'll move on to contract theft. Contract theft is when they know which companies you're dealing with. So if they've spent a bit of time in your call center, they may know who is the companies you're dealing with, and as such try and approach them. They may not have an initial point of contact with the sales directors or whatever, but they now know which companies to be focusing on. Sabotage. Sabotage is when somebody will put something into your system that will damage it severely. There is other ways to do this. Prime example was a call center in Cebu that was selling a mail enhancement product that was not the branded version. As such, somebody who says it was branded, it resulted in that call center being raided because they were selling a second product. It was a generic product, and as such it was raided. Some people have said FBI. I'm not 100% sure. I'm not sure they got jurisdiction in the Philippines, but either way it was shut down for a period of time while they find out who did it and why they did it. It affects the whole call center though, so that bit of sabotage could destroy everything overnight for up to a week maybe. Or if you were doing it lots of times and you've got recordings of it, you could be going to court. Employee poaching, very, very common. If you go into a call center and you can find the supervisor, speak to the supervisors, managers, etc., you can find out which are the best staff, and if you know which contracts they're on, then you know which contracts are worth the money, because they may have a load of contracts there that are actually worthless. Some contracts are only break even. The reason call centers do it is because it keeps them afloat. They're not making any money, they're not losing any money, but until something better comes along, they'll carry on with it. But you will find things like, I've seen business insurance. There's been specific people that have been doing it for years. Now, if you could get hold of a supervisor to take an entire group of those agents away, 5 to 10 agents with pay rises, etc., then that contract is already worth money. It's a license to print money. Those people already know how to sell it. They know what they're doing. They've experienced, etc., etc. That employee poaching is extremely viable for you as a business. But bearing in mind, the big companies also do it. They poach from each other all the time. This way, the rates have slowly been going up, not just in the Philippines, India, Pakistan, wherever, because they want the best agents, and the best agents are normally experienced. So to get the best experienced agents, you increase the money and incentives, medical cover, etc., etc. So they poach off each other. There's some call centers in the Philippines that don't do any training whatsoever. They're only after experienced agents. Why? Because to get somebody trained and running properly doesn't take a month. A month is a basic. To get somebody actually making you some serious money will take 3 months, 6 months, even a year. So the reality is, if you can get experienced agents only with just paying them better, why not? Although it goes against my whole thing on ethics and training, but I'm just saying from a business point of view. Contacts can be multiple things. As we mentioned here, you've got dial lists, you've got people that will take the sales leads, so you've got agents, brokers, you've got people that supply dialing lists, you've got people that supply technology, you've got contacts for the contracts you're running. All of these contacts are extremely useful for a business. It's why I keep telling people the most important thing here is get salespeople that need your services. Don't worry about the call center. I can give you call centers that will do the work for you. I just need the contracts. Beyond that, the rest of it can either be set up. If it's the company turns around and says, we want 10 salespeople in Manila, Cebu, wherever, and we own it, just give us the seat leasing. Can do that. That's not an issue. We can set the call center up. We can turn around and say, just pay them on a monthly basis. Whatever it is, just needs the people in the US, Australia, wherever that need the services. The rest of it is much, much easier from knowing somebody like myself that knows the business inside out. But it's also why contacts are important. Contract specific. Now, I was in a call center last year, and they're running about 6 contracts on the floor. It's quite a big floor. There's about 100 employees in there. But there's one area which has got this little sign up saying no entry, must be part of this contract or whatever to be in here legally, blah blah blah, because it operates on a government contract. It's very specific, very data sensitive. As such, even in their own building, people are not allowed in that area unless you're actually part of that contract. You have to give them your card, etc., etc. You can't just walk in there. If you do, you're in some serious problems, because it's not just related to the call center, but also specific government officials that may actually want to arrest you. They're very fussy. So it could be contract specific, which is why they don't want anybody in the building, because part of the non-disclosure agreement is I could turn around and say, I don't want anybody that is not operating for your business inside the building at any point. And that may sound pretty blunt, but at the same time, it does happen. For example, if you were PayPal or somebody else, you may actually turn around and say something like that. I'm not saying they would, but you may do, because of data protection. Now the last one is media. The media love to run a circus. They love to go in there and say, look at this call center that is operating really badly. Let's just say, like, I don't know if you remember the Gap and its children working in specific call center, specific factories, child labor. It did Gap some serious damage. Now, media love stories like that. So if you've got a call center that is operating like a hen house, what do you call it, poultry farm, with you've just got lines and lines of people all chattering away like chickens, and it just looks so unethical, etc., and it's tied to a big business, then they will turn around and have a field day if they got into there and said, look how X operates, they use slave labor almost, blah blah blah, these people are paid low wages, this is this, da 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 da. Now half of it may not even be true, because when people say low wages doesn't mean a thing. If you turn around and said that somebody can live on $100 a month comfortably, most people will say, well, that's unrealistic. But the thing is, in the Philippines, it's not. It really isn't. Doesn't mean you're paying them that, but I'm just saying that the average wage for somebody that is working at a factory, not a international factory, but something local, may only be earning about 6,000-7,000 pesos a month. Most housemaids are earning 2,000-3,000 pesos a month. There's a lot of jobs there, and they still send their kids to school, they still eat, they still survive on low wages. So when it's compared in that sort of sense, you turn around and go, well, fair enough, because they're call center agents. How much are they earning? Nearly the same as a bank manager in the Philippines. That's the reality. But on the other side of this, when they turn around and transfer just the dollar to dollar comparison from Philippines to US with no information, it looks like, oh, we're abusing these people, we're exploiting it. No, we're not. Everybody who's worked in my call center got paid a lot more than they would anywhere else. And on top of that, we had days out, we had training, we got people in that couldn't actually do call center work before, and we trained them all the way through to the point any of them can work in any call center. The reality is, it was more of a community project for me than just a business, because I like to create jobs. So the media may have actually tried and exploited it. I mean, I've had an internet troll try and exploit it in a negative way, but it's all backfired on him, because reality is we continuously developed. I mean, we've got a building, we've got all our equipment, we're all set up ready for the next contract. And I'm currently working on a few projects I haven't discussed. And this gets back to what I was saying before. If you bring the right contract, I'm interested. If you don't, I'm not. It's as simple as that. I'm not wasting my time, wasting my money. To get it running properly takes a lot of effort. But if you just want seats, I can organise seats, etc., etc. But, you know, for me to actually open my doors, it's got to be something pretty special. Anyway, thanks for watching.